Two. We are live. Welcome, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Kirsty, and I'm here with Petra at the moment. We're going to be talking about Halloween. Halloween is one of those things that many of us love, some of us don't love, some of us have a love-hate relationship with Halloween. I like to look at the positivity of Halloween and think it can be a real community-building exercise with kids walking the street. Some have put in some really great efforts in terms of making their costumes. But on the flip side, what we find with Halloween is there can be an awful lot of waste. Now, I'm going to start this session tonight by doing an acknowledgement to country. I'd like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people who are part of the Kulin Nation, the land on which I work, live and play. I'd like to acknowledge how traditional people had their celebrations, which is very, very different to the celebration that we're talking about tonight. But a celebration is still a celebration. And we would like to share in some of the things that we can do together. I've got Petra with me here as well, who's going to be talking about a few different things. Now, if you're listening in, please pop in the chat where you're coming from, so we know where you are. We know that there are people listening and say hi. We're doing this with Zero Waste Victoria, and we're looking to make this a part of a more regular a program or initiative, if you like, where we're actually connecting in a different way and getting feedback from people who are all over the country. But I'm going to start by bringing Petra up a little more so that we can see her and say, Petra, welcome. Welcome to us here now. Tell me what you think and your thoughts about Halloween.
Well, like you, Kirsty, I think that celebrations and just pausing to have time to connect with friends, family, to have some fun is just sort of critical for the community. And I think one of the things that is particularly nice about Halloween is the fact that you can meet your neighbours. Whereas some events like Christmas or Easter, you tend to sort of be with your family and, you might just in the house or whatever. Whereas Halloween's actually something that you're really engaging with the community. And so that's one of the things that I like about it. I suppose, like you just said before, one of the concerns that I have is a lot of the waste that happens in terms of the decorations. See my little spider here. So one of the things that we try and do is just reuse Mr. Spider here, and I'm not sure what sort of creature that is, but anyway, it's scary. So we sort of try and reduce the waste by actually having things we just pack away in a box and then we bring it out the next year, and I think that really makes me feel a lot better about having fun, enjoying being part of the community, particularly when my kids were younger, we'd all go together. So, and then we'd, get to see the neighbours and talk to them, etc. So I think that's a really fun thing to do. Now, I know that one of the other things that's part of our sort of family tradition too is about sort of making things together. So actually not just buying lollies and sort of things that you might just throw out because they're really sort of sweet and a bit unpleasant, but actually baking sort of goodies and actually having things, or for example, making things that you can give out. Now, I know that some people might say, oh, what kid is going to like this? But one of the things that I've made, and my family's going to laugh at this, is Mr. Mandarin here, except I can't rotate. Here we go. They're little cloves, thanks to Kirstein's idea there. And so I guess the sort of idea is that, mandarins and pumpkins and all those sorts of things are part of the sort of pagan festival that it originally came from, or maybe not mandarins, but pumpkins at least, so orange. And so, so basically giving out these so some kids might go, really? A mandarin? But then some of the little kids actually get really excited by the faces and sort of think it's quite sort of amusing. So, and I suppose they might avoid my house next year, I don't know, or they might sort of think, oh yeah, this is quite nice, I can eat the mandarin on the way because I'm getting a bit sick of all those sort of chocolates and sweets and things. So the other I made a whole variety. I'm actually not very good at drawing, but nonetheless, here's another one that I made earlier. And then apparently I'm supposed to make one live on TV because that's supposed to be what you do. So I'm just showing them my. I don't know if you saw, Kirsty, my little images that I will be giving out for the trick and treating. But
I absolutely love it. I think it's really wonderful, and it brings me back to a time. It was a few years ago, maybe even 5 or 6 years ago. I had a friend, though, it just happened to be her place that day, and she's like, Kirsty, I've got so many mandarins. Do you want to take some? I'm like, some. And all of a sudden, I had this plan, and that plan was I'm going to give them out at Halloween. And my kids said, Mum, no one is going to want one of your mandarins. But the kids actually relished them. And I remember this little boy, he was cute as a button, dressed up in a costume that he made. He said, Can I take one for my little sister? So you absolutely can. And I think the kids get so many lollies that they're just not used to having so many.
Sorry, you keep going. I was just providing light amusement on the side. But yes, and look, I know that sometimes, I know my mother one year actually dressed up. So when people came, it wasn't that she just, she actually dressed up and made it into a sort of almost like a theatre production, with sort of little funny voices, and particularly the little kids just thought it was the best thing since sliced bread. Not quite sure why we say that saying, but anyway, I think, Kirsty, you were also going to talk to us a little bit about, because before, I don't know if you heard, you might have been doing the prep, but one of the things that I think is really important about Halloween was the neighbourhood element, but also getting together as a family and making things so that you're decorating and making goodies or making mandarins or whatever, so that it is part of a community. So look what Kirsty put together.
I'm going to say,
just before.
People can see. Look what I've been making.
I know that looks. Tell us a little bit about what those eyes are made of.
Well, these eyes, what I've actually done, and I'll show you how to do it in a moment. These have been made in advance. Is I have actually just got some pastry. Now, if you don't make pastry and you like eating pastry, I encourage you to give it a go. I can put the recipe in the chat, but there's probably 10 million pastry recipes. Short crust is really easy. It's really cold butter, flour, blitz it together with a blender, or do it by hand if you don't have one. A little bit of water, pop it in the fridge for half an hour or an hour, roll it out. So I've actually got some pastry that I've made, and I had some apples that are maybe a little past their eating best. So last night what I did was I actually stewed them all up to make a filling, and I've just put that filling on, done this here. I take them out of the oven. I experimented with a few ways of doing it. I've got a white chocolate bud with a chocolate bud to make the eyes. And would you look at them? I've got a few here. The toughest thing I had was saying, can I have them before dinner? But I think they were saying that for the benefit of your ears, Petra.
Yes. And I told them that they don't want to increase their blood glucose level just before dinner because it gives you a sense of being full and then you're hungry later. I thought I'd just get a little education lesson in there.
Absolutely. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to change this so that we can see each other a little bit better. I can see Ray's coming in there. So hi, Ray. Thanks for joining us and watching. I'm going to pop this down a little bit. Hopefully
Okay.
So
you're making the pastry from scratch.
Pastry here. I've just rolled the pastry out. Really simple to roll out the pastry. On that. You can make these any size. Now, I would say these are probably about 7 centimeters. I've got a rule here, probably 7 by 10, I would say. You don't need to be perfect with these. One of the biggest things I find people when they're actually trying different things is they get into this stage of perfection. We don't need to be perfect at all. It's Halloween. It's spooky. It's not meant to be perfect.
Yeah, I was just about to say that, Kirsty. In fact, I was thinking that when I was making my little spooky mandarins, that actually having things that are a little bit weird or off center is actually part of the sort of spookiness of it all.
Absolutely part of the charm. So that's a little bit square. I can see different shapes there. And the idea to work with pastry is when it's very, very cold and very, very quick. And because it's kind of sitting here while we're chatting, kind of lose some of that coolness. So I'm just going to take these off the tray. It's much, much easier to work with the pastry on the tray. With any tray you and know with something like pastry, you absolutely do not need to line the tray. There's enough butter in here, so it's not going to be brave, be bold. I've never had pastry stick. The only reason it might is if filling fills out, and it's not going to happen tonight. So I'm going to put this here so you can see it.
And one of the other reasons we don't put stuff on is just sort of reduces some of that waste. So just staying conscious of, you know, just keeping things fun and low waste, because they can be both. My chef has disappeared.
Now,
oh no, he's back.
Just going to my fridge. What I've got here is the stewed apple. Apple, if you never stewed it, is super, super easy. Just chop up the apple. Again, don't be particular. If you look closely, they're all different sizes here. Just pop it in the pot. I put in a little bit of orange rind and orange juice because I had that. You can put in some sugar if you like. I tend not to put that for tasting, and cinnamon. To me, you can't have cinnamon. Well, you probably can, but a good teaspoon's plenty to go. So I just got this here. You can make it in advance, and you could use anything. You could use, I think rhubarb would be quite nice.
Yes. You could put sultanas in, except not for my daughter, because she doesn't like sultanas.
Yeah, sultanas would be good. And you just want to put this in here. Can you see that okay up there? I'm not a chef. I'm just I'm a lovely home cook. So if you're looking at me and going, it doesn't look like she's come from MasterChef, I haven't come from MasterChef. And there's no real formula with this other than to put the apple on as generously as you can, but not too close to the edge, because we're going to need to have some room to put the pastry strips. I actually thought what would be fun is to stew up some rhubarb, because then you've got the colour in there, like that red colour.
Oh yeah, it could look like blood.
A bit like blood, yeah. And then when I was watching in online, and you've got some really great Halloween ideas or tips or tricks, please feel free to pop them in the comments. And if I just put this over here, trying to do it so it's all on the screen here, and you can see me chop, might just turn this all down. Might be a little easier.
It's making me hungry. Watching you do these lovely pastries there, Kirsty.
Don't do pastry a lot, but I do enjoy making pastry. It's a really simple thing to make. And I'm just cutting some strips here. They're random. You look closely, it's just and I'm just putting them over. Now, I've experimented with this. I did different options of doing it with the chocolate on as soon as I put it in the oven and at the end. And for me, I found the white chocolate, it's actually, I've got a white chocolate yogurt bun, so it might smell a little bit differently to the regular chocolate. But I found it was just better to take it out, and there's enough heat in there, it melts it straight away. So it's a really simple thing to do. So I'm just pushing this over, as you can see there, and just popping it down on the edges like so. It's a really easy thing to do. And what I like about this, especially if you're not used to working with pastry, it's really forgiving. And
well, that's really good, because pastry is not my forte. So I'm watching closely so that I can sort of learn a little bit here. And while you're
who made the best pie is probably rolling grave over right now watching me. But this is not one of the pies with that perfect top. It's a mummy apple pie, and it's meant to be random, so I'm going to keep it random. And something I want to talk about while I'm doing this, I'm going to hold this jar up here. I've just taken the cover off. Can you see that jar?
Yes.
Now,
oh wow, all the peels.
Yes. When I stewed the apples up, obviously I would have cut up maybe, because my son has braces now, so he can't enjoy apples the way he used to. So I thought, well, stew them up and have the extra there. But I would have cut up maybe 6 apples, I would say. And if I was just doing one apple, I would eat the skin on the spot. Easy to do, right? But with 6 apples, that's a lot of skin to eat. So I've actually put those apples in there with the cores, and I put it in there with some sugar. It would have been maybe a tablespoon of sugar. I use rapid sugar, so it's got that beautiful golden colour to it. But if you don't have rapid sugar, just white sugar is fine. I've done it 1,000 times with white sugar. And then I'll just leave that. In a few days, that'll start to get some bubbles. And in a few weeks, I would say in this weather, 3 to 4 weeks, I'll have apple scrap vinegar.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, I did not know that. This is a new bit of information.
To bob and check it every day. I'll check it and make sure there's no apple sort of sticking out of the top. And it's a really simple way to turn those scraps into something that you can use. And then I'll just use it the same way I would use apple cider, or apple cider vinegar, I should say, for any of my cooking.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Yeah, I have a friend who, whenever she makes something, she uses every element of the food, whether it be that she then uses the, chicken to make chicken stock, like the bones afterwards, or the peels to, do something else with. And it is something actually that our parents' generation used to just do as a matter of course, really, because it was probably not because they were part of Zero Waste Victoria, but probably just because that was how their parents did it. So it is nice to be able to utilise every bit of what you're cooking, so that things don't go to waste. And yeah, I like that idea.
Great. Now, Petra, we were talking about this the other day, and what I find really interesting and challenging is, look, I love decoration and celebration, but I've noticed some people, their Halloween decorations have been out for weeks. And while that's really cool and fun, I've noticed all the webbing, like the spider webbing they're putting in. And I've got a few concerns about that. I mean, look, there's a plastic element, but it's not even because they're plastic and they're those types of things. Like, what's your take on that in terms of affecting the wildlife?
Yeah, well, it's a good point that you raised, and actually I was just doing a lovely online sort of workshop over the last few weeks around habitat gardening and attracting wildlife, like sort of Australian wildlife, and through using Indigenous plants and native plants in your garden. And one of the things that they were raising is that netting, and then, of course, when we got to Halloween, they were talking about how, which I hadn't sort of quite realised, is a lot of that netting, there's a number of things with it. One is that birds and insects can get caught in the netting and basically sort of die, but also they because a lot of the netting is plastic and things like that, they can utilise that. At the moment, they're making nests and things, so they might use some of that plastic to make their nests. And then, so I was thinking, oh, that's not so bad. But then I said, well, actually, because it's not a soft thing like straw or twigs or, those sorts of things that are natural in the environment, they can get caught around the little baby birds' legs and things like that, and actually end up, they can't get out of their nests. So it's really sort of odd, isn't it, when you don't sort of think through the steps around that. And because we often feel so removed from our natural habitat, we don't sort of always understand the impacts that these, what we think is quite a small thing, putting up some decorations and some web, actually can have on the wildlife. So yeah, so I learned this through the habitat gardening thing. So you can still put decorations up, but just sort of mindful of, okay, are these decorations that are going to, is it lots of string and netting and cobwebs and things, or is it just like that? There's people up the road, they've got this brilliant Halloween thing, they do it every year, where it's actually, I was telling you the other day, Kirsty, they're live, well, they're not live, obviously, they're statuey things like Mr. Ratty here, but they're sort of like skeletons, but massive human-sized skeletons, and they attach. They've got one of the house with sort of 2-story concretey sort of house, and they've attached 3 or 4 of them that are sort of looking like they're climbing up the side of the house. It just looks awesome, and and so obviously they just attach them. Now they're pretty innocuous. In fact, maybe birds might nest in the little sort of skeleton heads, but because there's no netting, there's no strings or anything like that, and it's they use the same one. I don't know where they store them because they're quite large, but they use the same sort of large skeleton creatures every year. So there's actually really, I suppose Kirsty, it's just about having that mindset or the attitude of just thinking, okay, what's the impact of this? I'm reusing it. It's not string or anything like that, so it's not going to have any negative impact. Tick, tick, go have fun.
That's it. It's not where, yes, we're not being the killjoys out of this. There's a lot of things that we can do, but it's being mindful of the impact that it might have. Yeah. Now, what I thought I'd show you, Petra, is I've got these all lined up now. So these are the ones I've just been working on.
They look very yummy.
Yeah, and if you look closely, it's random. Like, there's nothing perfect about that. It doesn't need to be perfect. That's the beautiful thing about a scary lattice. It doesn't have to be evenly lined. So it's a really fun one to do. And I don't think you need to wait for Halloween to do these. So I'm just going to pop these things up now. It's a 180 oven, and they'll take probably about 15 to 20 minutes. We won't be here for the whole time, but that's how long they'll take me.
Sounds a very good plan. And you could I might plan to make them, I think, tomorrow. You've got me all inspired.
Excellent. So as I said, like, these are the ones I prepared earlier. I'm one short now because the sun has come and pinched one, which is no surprise. He's eating his dinner.
Yes. Fantastic.
Little guys, probably not the best angle there. I'll have to take some photos of them later. Oh, that's a good one, isn't it? Like that there. But the eyes are good.
Although yes, that one looks a bit too happy, Kirsty. We might make him look a little bit, or he, she, they. We could make them sort of skew-iff a bit. Oh yeah, like that. Oh yeah, that one's a bit more perturbing looking. I'm jealous now. I can't really do that with my. Well, I mean, I guess I could peel my mandarins, but yeah. So look, a message from us really is have really enjoyed community. In Halloween is for little kids, big kids, baking, getting to see your neighbours, etc., and just being mindful of waste and the wildlife, and you can tick all boxes. So that's really our and as Kirsty said before, we're going to be doing so Kirsty and I from Zero Waste Victoria, which is a not-for-profit organisation around sort of encouraging community to reduce waste and think about consequences about all the things that we end up putting in landfill and trying to reduce that. And we're going to do this is our first one, everyone. And not that, I mean, it was very polished, so I don't think Kirsty that would have noticed. But we're going to do this every month, so with a different topic. And so I hope you can join us, and please feel free to put messages in the chat. Kirsty, I'll pass over to you, and then we'll let everyone enjoy the rest of the evening.
Yep, that's it. I think with Halloween, just have some fun with it. And you might not be into baking, especially if you're baking for others in the street. I enjoy baking, so it's easy for me to do. So you don't have to bake for Halloween. Other things I like to do is I'll just go and I'll get lollies that are loose. I can go to the full pantry and I should say, here, this jar, I've got these white chocolate bars. Like, I'll just take my jars and fill them up so I can do them without the plastic. But if you don't have the luxury of something like that, you can just buy lollies that don't come wrapped up and give them out. Or I've even given out apples or whatever it happens to be. Just use a little bit of creativity.
Or mandarins.
Have some fun with it. Use the mandarins. Have some fruit. And I really love it to have a conversation with the people going down the street. And I know I was speaking with somebody just earlier this week. She's like, oh no, Halloween, they buy these cheap little pumpkins and they go around, they look very cute, but they're not very durable. So maybe you could be creative and think, okay, well, have I got like perhaps like a bucket or a little tub? Some of the little yogurt tubs have handles on or something like that. Is it something I could reuse and get the kids to decorate and for them to get going out and buying something, use what you've got and make the most of it instead of creating that. And, you know, no one's going to plan on that. You know, Halloween is meant to have a little bit of creativity. It's not meant to be a commercialized, let's see what we can buy type thing.
Yeah.
So, frustrated by that happening, then be the example and do that. And then if others see you doing that, well, then they can sort of take something like that and you don't have to tell them they've done the wrong thing. Sometimes it's better that you don't. But just by doing that yourself and telling the story, oh, my kids had a lot of fun making this, or this is what we did together, then that actually just, you know, spreads the message. And maybe people won't think about doing something different next year because we know it's here to stay.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think it's just about reclaiming some of that more authentic elements rather than what we're being told by commercial enterprises to, you know, buy all this plastic stuff, and actually just going back to grassroots and you know, basic community engagement.
Excellent.
On that note,
I'm going to wrap it up on that note. Thanks for joining us, Petra. Thanks for joining us. If anyone's in the chat and you've got anyone's watching the replay, I should say, and you've got any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. We'll come back to them at a later time. But we look forward to seeing you next time, and I hope you all have a happy Halloween.
okay, see you everyone. Bye.